It's story time. On the count of 3, let's say the story bag poem and see what's inside. 1, 2, 3. Story bag, what have you to say? Story bag, what's in you today? We have a sweet potato. This is a folktale from West Africa called Talk. Story ears open, story mouths quiet, story buckles buckled, and let us begin. Once upon a time, long ago, there lived a lazy farmer. He was so lazy that when it was time for him to plant his garden, he just grabbed a handful of seeds and threw them on the ground and went home. He didn't dig rows, he didn't poke holes in the ground, he didn't cover the seeds with dirt, he didn't water them, he didn't weed them, he didn't do anything. A few weeks later, he said, "I bet my sweet potatoes are ready to dig up and eat." So off he went to his garden. The lazy farmer was a strong young man, but he was so lazy he couldn't even walk without the aid of a walking stick. When he got to the garden, he started poking in the ground with his walking stick. He was so lazy he couldn't even dig properly. All of a sudden, a sweet potato stuck its head out of the ground and said, "Man, you have some nerve. You didn't even plant me properly. You didn't cover me with dirt. You didn't water or weed me. You didn't do anything at all. And now you come to dig me up to eat. That is rude." Now the lazy farmer had never heard a sweet potato talk before. He looked around and asked, "Who said that?" A dog standing nearby, who had heard the whole thing, said, "It was the sweet potato who spoke very clearly. What's wrong with your hearing, man?" The lazy farmer had never heard a dog talk either, and he didn't like his tone. "Who do you think you're talking to, dog?" asked the lazy farmer, poking the dog with his walking stick. A cow standing nearby said, "Don't poke that dog with the stick, man." Now the lazy farmer had never heard a cow talk either, and he was getting a little freaked out by all this talk. He started to throw the stick on the ground, but the stick said, "Put me down gently, please." That was all the talk the lazy farmer could take. He dropped the stick, threw up his hands, and screamed, and went running down the road. He met a woman with a basket of fish under her arms, and she asked, "Man, why are you running and screaming like that?" The lazy farmer answered, "First my sweet potato was talking, then I heard a dog and a cow and a stick talk too." "That's ridiculous," said the woman with the fish. "None of them can talk." Just then, a fish in her basket said, "I agree. I have never heard such ridiculous talk in all of my life." The woman dropped her basket of fish, threw up her hands, and screamed. And she and the lazy farmer went running down the road. They met a man carrying a bundle of fabric on his head, who asked, "What's wrong with you two? Why are you running and screaming like that?" "My sweet potato was talking, and then a dog and a cow and a stick were talking." "My fish was talking too," said the woman. "That's ridiculous," said the man with the fabric. "None of them can talk." Just then the fabric on his head said, "I agree. I have never heard such ridiculous talk in all of my life." The man threw the fabric to the ground, threw up his hands, and screamed. And he and the woman and the lazy farmer went running down the road. They met a woman swimming in the river, who asked, "Why are you three running and screaming like that?" The lazy farmer answered, "My sweet potato was talking. Then a dog and a cow and a stick were talking." "My fish was talking," said the woman. "My fabric was talking too," said the man. "That's ridiculous," said the woman swimming in the river. "None of them can talk." Just then, the river said, "I agree. I have never heard such ridiculous talk in all my life." The swimmer jumped out of the river, threw up her hands, and screamed. And she and the man and the woman and the lazy farmer went running down the road. They ran all the way to the king, who was sitting on his three-legged stool. The king asked, "Why are you four running and screaming like that?" The lazy farmer answered, "My sweet potato was talking. Then a dog and a cow and a stick were talking. My fish was talking," said the woman. "My fabric was talking," said the man. "And the river was talking too," said the swimmer. "That's ridiculous," said the king, sitting upon his three-legged stool. "None of them can talk. You are going to cause a riot if you keep talking this talk. Now calm down and go home before I throw you all in jail." They hurried home, leaving the king shaking his head and mumbling to himself. "That is the most ridiculous talk I have ever heard," said the king. Just then, the three-legged stool said, "I agree, Your Majesty. Such ridiculous talk." The king jumped to his feet, threw up his hands, and screamed, and went running down the road. And there be my story, be it bitter or sweet. Take what you like, but leave enough for me to eat.